Who does the world owe money to? Let's take a moment and think about it. Today, almost every country in the world is in debt. The United States owes more than $38 trillion. The European Union, around $14 trillion. Japan is approaching $9 trillion. And what's interesting is that these aren't just struggling economies. Oil-rich countries are in debt too. So are nations that sell goods to the entire world and break export records. At this point, it's hard not to ask a simple question. If everyone is in debt, then who actually owns the money? That's the question I want to explore, because debt is much deeper than we usually think. Most of us see debt as something negative, like a weight on our shoulders. But the truth is, the world we live in today couldn't function without it. Wars, crises, economic booms and collapses. All of them are built on top of this invisible system of debt. And when you start digging into that system, you realize something unsettling. The world isn't really in debt to a single entity. In a way, it's in debt to itself. But that doesn't mean we're all in this together, because not everyone benefits from this system in the same way. Today, total global debt has surpassed $315 trillion. That's nearly 3 times the value of everything the world produces in a year. So how did we get here? The answer isn't credit cards or mobile banking. We need to go much further back. Where did debt come from? The year is 1694. England is at war with France. The state's treasury is empty. There's no gold left. The king doesn't have many options. Eventually, he turns to the merchants. He says, "Give me money now, and I'll pay you regular interest from future tax revenues." The merchants agree. To manage this arrangement, the Bank of England is established. At the time, it may not have seemed like a big deal, but it changed the course of history. For the first time, a state was spending money it didn't actually have yet. And the lenders received something incredibly powerful in return, the government's promise. A promise that could be bought and sold. A promise that could be passed on to someone else. This is how government bonds were born. Then the idea spread. France adopted it. The Netherlands refined it. The United States used it to finance its independence and expansion. Over time, debt stopped being a sign of failure. It became a measure of how trustworthy a state was. If you could borrow, it meant people trusted you. Empires once conquered land for gold. Now they borrow for interest. The battlefield changed. Wars were no longer fought only on the front lines, but on balance sheets. Where we are today, centuries pass. Today, debt is everywhere. America is in debt. Japan is in debt. Europe is in debt. But at the same time, everyone is also a creditor in some way. Even you. You pay taxes. You contribute to pension systems. That money ends up in government bonds. So at the same time, you're both a debtor and a creditor. Strange, but true. Governments don't treat debt the way we treat personal loans. They don't plan to pay it off. They plan to roll it over. Old debt is paid with new debt. What really matters is that interest payments keep flowing. That's why the United States will never fully pay off its debt. Japan won't either. And the system will keep running as long as everyone believes in it. Here's the strange part. If those debts were ever truly paid off, the global economy would likely collapse. So debt isn't the problem here. It is the system. One final thought. We owe it to ourselves. Sounds comforting, but it's incomplete because interest doesn't flow equally. The debt system tends to move money upward. That's why, as debt grows, inequality grows with it. Debt is neither entirely good nor entirely bad. It's the engine that keeps this system running. But like any engine, it can't run forever. And when it finally stops, we'll remember what debt really is. A promise that must be kept, but can't be kept forever. If this made you stop and think for a moment, subscribe. History has answers. We'll look for them together.